So this is the story of how I went from failing the NCLEX in 75 questions to passing the NCLEX in 75 questions. Hello everyone, my name is siedmannsoltes. I make lifestyle vlogs just like this one, so if you guys like my videos, feel free to subscribe down below. For a while, I really wasn't sure if I was gonna make this type of video, but I figured that I could make this a learning opportunity, not only for myself, but also for everybody out there that's on their NCLEX journey, and hopefully you guys can watch this video, learn from what went well with my journey and what didn't go as well. Before I get into the details, here's a little context. I graduated in May, and by then I'd already done the whole job search thing. I had a job lined up, and my NCLEX date was in late July because my start date for my work was early August. So in general, I had about 2 months to prepare. On my first attempt, everything that I used was Hurst review because that was mandatory for the nursing school that I was attending. On top of that, I also bought a subscription to UWORLD. I think it was the 60-day trial with the 1 practice exam. And on top of that, I also reviewed the Klimek prioritization and delegation lecture online. So after the Hurst live review, I reviewed 1 content topic per day. I used the Hurst booklet as well as the online lectures on YouTube and on the Hurst website. I also did 75 questions on UWorld, all random topics using timed mode, not tutor mode, and I reviewed every single question regardless of whether it was right or wrong and took paper notes. Like I physically wrote down notes. It was a lot of paper. Everything would take me about 3 to 5 hours every single day, and it was pretty consistent during the weekdays with the weekends as my break days. This pretty much continued for the entirety of the 2 months, except for about 3 weeks prior to my NCLEX date. We had a family vacation, so I took a week off. And then the week prior to my exam, I took the UWorld practice exam, as well as 1 of the 4 Hurst review practice exams to just check my knowledge and my understanding of everything. My test day was in the afternoon, so I also did some minor notes reviews before I left for my exam. I know that they tell you not to do anything the day prior, the night prior, but I'm really not the type of student to do that. So come test day, I left maybe an hour, 45 minutes early. I went inside, took the exam, and I felt pretty okay. Not great, but not terrible either. When I went back to my vehicle, I did the whole Pearson view trick. I'm not gonna go into the details about how to do it. It's everywhere online. It's essentially a way to check if you passed or failed in advance before you get your unofficial test results. It is not 100% accurate, but it has a pretty good track record. I went and did that, and I got the bad pop-up. Like I said, at this point, it's not official, but because it's for the most part pretty accurate, I was very bummed out for the next 2 days while I was waiting for my unofficial test results. And obviously, after the 2 days, got my results, and it said that I failed. I was devastated. As someone who did pretty well in nursing school, it was very demoralizing knowing you had failed while you were seeing all your peers pass the very first time. Thankfully, I had peers and family that supported me through the transition, and I got through it. The worst part was really having to call up my job and be like, hey, I failed, what do we do now? But thankfully they were like, we can just move your start date later in October, and you just let us know when you pass. So during my first attempt, what went well was that I created a schedule and I stuck to it. Every day I was studying material, I was reviewing material, and then I would do the 75 question practice exam on UWorld and then review what I got wrong, what I got correct. Consistency and discipline are key when you guys are studying for the NCLEX. I was also using different resources, but not to the point that it was overwhelming and there was conflicting information everywhere. What didn't work, I think, was the fact that I had a vacation like 3 weeks prior to my start date. I feel like it definitely stopped the momentum or definitely held it back a little bit. I think that when you guys are planning your studying months, try to have it as uninterrupted as you can. Try to leave your vacations before the study period or maybe after you take the exam, because it's best to, like I said, build that momentum so that you are at your peak by the time that you guys take your exam. Some other things that didn't go as well was I only took 1/4 of the Hurst reviews just because I personally felt that UWorld was better with the practice exams, but I don't know, maybe taking all 4 at that time would have helped me with understanding more of the content material. So obviously this is a very stressful, anxiety-inducing time. After I essentially went through the grieving process, I just had to keep going. I was reading a book at this time called Ego is the Enemy. This is not sponsored or anything, but it definitely helped me transition my mindset. It helped me realize that I was only really feeling hurt because I had attached my ego and my pride to passing the first time. With that being said, my mindset going to the second time was that I did not know anything. I was a blank slate. And my job or goal was not to just pass, but it was to work as hard as I can to know and understand everything I could, medically and nursing knowledge-wise. I still used Hurst, I still used UWORLD, I renewed my membership and Mark Klimek. But this time I took all of the Hurst practice tests and I reviewed every single Mark Klimek lecture. On top of that, I also added the NCLEX High Yield podcast, as well as these review packets that my parents actually used when they were studying for the NCLEX. So really funny, actually. It was honestly very similar because I also had about 2 months until my new exam date in September. For this section, I'm going to divide the studying into the first month and the second month because my method sort of changed on the second month for reasons that I'll explain in the what went well section. So pretty much every day I would again review a single topic using my Hurst review book, but this time my 75 UWorld practice questions wouldn't be all random. Instead, I would gear the questions towards the topic that I was learning. I think this helped a lot. What also changed was because I had this mindset of I didn't know anything, even though I did. I spent a lot more time reviewing and taking notes. What was 3 to 5 hours of studying became like 5 to 6 hours consistently the first month. And I would still take breaks on weekends. Instead of paper notes, I made a Google Drive folder and had documents for different areas of knowledge I was learning. And it was just like pages and pages of notes for each document. I would listen to the NCLEX High Yield podcast whenever I could. It was literally like I'd be jogging in the morning, I'd be eating breakfast, I would be driving on long car rides, and I would be listening to the podcast instead of, listening to music. This kept going until the second month when I had reviewed all the content material. And at this point, my goal was now to build exam stamina. So I went ahead and finished the other 3 Hurst practice exams, reviewed them all, and after I would also do a total of 160 UWorld questions and review every single question. But for the second month of studying, I ended up doubling the amount of hours to about 8 to 12 hours of studying every day, just because I was deeply reviewing every single question after I took my practice exams. I still had my weekends off, but on Saturdays, I would also review my online notes, or I listened to a Mark Klimek lecture and took notes. And at nights, during like the final few weeks, whenever I felt willing, I would do the practice questions from my parents' review book. And I think that definitely helped a lot because there were also some testing strategies on there that helped me during game day, if you will. So the day before, I just relaxed, did some minor notes reviews, just like the first time. I drove to the testing location because it was different. And I'm so glad I did because when I pulled up, the only road that was leading to the testing location was gone. Like the GPS told me to turn right. There was no right. So I drove around for like an extra 20 minutes trying to find where the new road was. Just like the biggest tip is like either get there so early that you're not stressed or, do a test run of driving to the location maybe the day prior. During test day, I actually felt a lot more ease at this time other than, just the typical nerves. I was also mentally preparing myself to stay for the entire 145 questions. I was just focused on making sure that I read every question carefully, read every choice carefully, thought critically, and then answered before moving on. When I hit question 41, I ended up taking a break. That's how I'd been practicing. After question 75, it shut off and my heart sank. Let me tell ya, it was not a good look. Knowing that I failed in 75 questions, the computer shut off at question 76. So I walked out not knowing what to think. This time I didn't bother doing the Pearson VUE trick because I was so proud of how hard I worked. I just relaxed for 2 days. So after 2 days, I got a notification that said, your unofficial test results are ready. So before I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, let me look on my state nursing board's website and see if my license is up. Looked it up. And nothing. There was nothing there. And so I was just preparing myself to see the bad 4-letter word. Looked, opened my eyes, And then I saw the good 4-letter word, pass. Again, I had a schedule and I stuck to it for sure. I also tried different resources and made sure I understood everything. There was not a point where I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I know that. I reviewed so much information that I could sometimes feel my head throbbing at the end of the day. I also found some test taking strategies that worked for me and I stuck with it during the exam, especially whenever I feel like I didn't understand the information as well for the question. And also just the fact that I really worked on building my exam stamina. I think that definitely helped. I actually learned the 160 question UWORLD practice from NCLEX High Yield podcast, and that's actually why the second month change was so drastic in terms of the number of study hours I was doing. The last thing that went well was knowing how you're doing in terms of your topic understanding, because I actually had to reschedule my exam twice. I felt like I was ready to take it, but something in the back of my mind was like, okay, like just take a few more days to do some more review and just be as confident as you can whenever you take it. And so by the time I actually took it, I knew I was ready. It seemed like that worked. So don't let anybody dictate when you're gonna take your exam. You know when you're ready, and nobody can tell you when you're ready. I think this time there weren't many things that didn't go well, but if I had to choose what I would have changed, it'd probably be not to push myself so hard, because my study hours were so long at times. I'm not sure if it was as efficient as it could be because the hours were so long, but I mean, who really knows? It ended up working out at the end. So my final thoughts, the NCLEX is definitely hard, but it is also very doable. I think for me, it was just a matter of being honest with myself and taking the time to understand what I didn't know along with what I do know. For any repeat test takers, I feel for you. I know what it's like. I understand what you're going through. As someone who made it to the other side, I believe in you. You can do it. Everybody says this and it's kind of corny, but it's true. You made it through nursing school. You can make it through this. You got this. I'm rooting for you. Okie dokie. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like these types of videos, hit that subscribe button. I'm always looking for different ways to help out you all. Hit that like button if you guys liked the video and found it helpful. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section and I'll answer them. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.